They call it patriotism, but we call it what it is: pure, unfiltered bullshit. Welcome to Bluebird on Your Shoulder, where we cut through the MAGA madness with brutal honesty and zero apologies. No sugarcoating, no fake civility, just three guys, middle-aged and pissed off, breaking down the absurdity of right-wing delusion one episode at a time. If you think America deserves better than conspiracy theories and cult worship, you're in the right place. Liberal? Hell yes. Woke? Not a chance. We're here to roast the madness, expose the lies, and call out the grift. Because the only thing worse than MAGA's nonsense is pretending it makes sense. New episodes every week. Buckle up.
Bluebird on your shoulder back again for another episode. Still a two-man crew. The third man, he's down, he's out. He's taking the count. So he's actually the wrestling fan in the group too. So you know what I'm saying? That roller coaster pinned him.
Uh,
So he said the legal drugs are too good.
they
Um,
put me right to sleep.
yeah, they're too good. So man down, man down. So get better, come back, see you soon. You know, we got somebody to argue with. Gotta come back. So there's that. We had another 10 years in a week. A lot of movement around things. We have the old alligator Alcatraz is what they're calling it. They're calling it. That's their name for it. That's what they've
Hmm.
chosen. So I've chosen to call it at the beginning of the concentration camps. So that'll be an interesting reality. We'll definitely get into that. We had the war, fight, and passage of the big beautiful bill that happened. A lot of things rotating in and out of that. We had Akeem Jeffries once again giving a massively long speech, um, straight filibuster style, this morning to slow down the passage of the bill. I'm not really sure what he thought he was accomplishing, but he went ahead and did that. We had the Supreme Court make me look like an asshole in less than a week. It actually happened in less than a day in real time, but
Yeah.
now that you're back with us, the Supreme Court just came out and completely made me look like an asshole for defending them. It's, well, at least they're following the law. Then we just said, well, since they didn't question the legality of it,
Hmm.
we're
They
going to
they
go
got
ahead
one
and say
process, which it
they
was
they
part of
did
what we
right.
talked about.
So they're going to let each state question the legality of it. So I technically that's following the law, but it's also being a pussy. Um, and it's just another really exciting week. He we have confirmation that the bombing of Iran didn't go well. Got some stuff done, but
Well, I was gonna
ROI.
say, what are we talking about? Do well? Are we saying that we wanted to blow stuff up? Or are we saying that
I mean, if
we?
you're gonna bomb it, you might as well make it work. You gotta bomb it. If you're gonna, I'm an American, dude. We bombed a lot of people. We don't normally fuck up when we bomb things.
Yeah,
But
but I don't think that the bombing was meant to blow stuff up. I think it was meant to
yeah,
distract and
yeah, absolutely. But you're not really getting a good ROI on those machines, those bombs, the cost of both, and
yeah.
you at best they're saying a year. That's what the Pentagon's saying. As you said it back a year, the UN watchdog is saying, yeah, good luck. Not even like in 90 to 120 days.
Yeah.
So the UN nuclear watchdog saying that. So of course, everybody's lying. Something else definitely. We had Elon and Trump getting into it again this week. The girls are fighting again. Um, Elon being very against the one big beautiful bill, which did pass. And Trump just basically saying that Elon was mad because of EV subsidies not being in the bill. And then the one I liked is Elon down commented on Twitter. Somebody was talking about Bannon. He said Bannon's going to prison again, and this time for a real long time. So of course he's went silent since that day. It's like, man, I need whatever you do on those days, I need you to do that every day for a minute.
Yeah, right.
Because you got the information that we want, right? So hop in there. I think some prominent lefties got to go be like, hey, we'll give you immunity, but you got to have proof. You got
I
to
don't
have
know that
concrete proof.
he probably has more just data that he thinks he can leverage than he does actual proof, you know?
If you buy anything into the it was stolen conspiracy, then he would definitely be centric to that.
Yeah.
And that's where you give him immunity for. Like you admit that
Right.
you did hack the machines, change the votes.
Yeah.
And then literally in the snap of a finger, everything would make sense.
Right.
So I don't buy into that. I buy in that we are in weirdo world and we have transferred into like the eighth dimension here. And I don't necessarily think it was rigged, but if somebody told me it was rigged, she actually won by like 14 million votes, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like on the street. So and then another personal observation is I go into a lot of Midwestern rural towns. I'm in and out of them a lot. Just the amount of open MAGA supporters has dwindled so much.
Yeah,
Um,
you don't see the
at
Klan
least, yeah, at
red
least
hats out.
visually, right? Like not a lot of hats, not so much on the trucks, not a
Mhm.
lot of flags, not a lot of, you know what I'm saying? Which I don't know if that's one thing or another, but I know that a piece of them left over the bombs in Iran that they lost a they MAGA themselves don't make up much of that coalition, maybe 40% of the total
Yeah.
coalition. Then you have your evangelicals and your fiscal conservatives who they shit the bed on the one big beautiful bill. But no, and then somebody today also randomly talked about we haven't really openly talked about this. I'm going to start here. Why does he never talk about the assassination attempt?
We've talked about that. Like it is very, very strange to me that it is not something that he hammers on every single day. Like, and I've seen a lot of um a lot more analysis on that. There was a Hollywood prop um tech that was talking about how, you know, how there's a picture of the blood just smeared right here on the outside of the lobe, and how, he talks about there's nothing missing here. There's, no um there's no parts missing. There's no the blood is too perfect. It looks exactly like a blood capsule that was burst. And so the fact that, number one, the fact that he's not still screaming that it was the Democrats, and further analysis that's all pointing in that direction, just to
Um,
me
yeah.
screams that that was the
So
case.
him never talking about it really gets to my head. That
Yeah,
definitely happens. Because that just it doesn't fit his personality type. Like
exactly. Yeah.
it doesn't.
Um,
Yeah, that's
um,
good.
so yeah,
Um,
like, I just don't. I don't think that it was real. I would love to see some forensic data.
well, that's the other part, right? So like you've proven that you have all these apparatus at your disposal, and you're using them in ways they were not intended to be used,
Yeah.
right? And like we have like outright bounty hunters working for ICE now. Like these are Proud Boys. We know it. They know.
Right.
But just take the mask off. We know who you are.
Yeah.
So you've got all these apparatus, and there's no massive investigation. There's no like
Mm.
Patel and Bongino. I don't know Dan Cash Patel and Dan his assistant deputy. He's Dan the podcast Bongino or some shit. I don't know. He was a cop in New York. He's got some credential. He does. Um, they don't never talk about it. They don't say they're investigating it. Like, what isn't there
Right.
something we would investigate like in this particular administration, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then the other thing that I've
That are
heard, which
still
obviously
they're
I
still
don't know,
investigating Hillary. So
yeah, and then the
and
thing I've heard, and I mean, I don't know if it's true, but he put a lot of like pictures of himself in the White House. I heard that one ain't there. And that's
yeah,
the most iconic picture of you and ever
yeah,
that will ever exist, sir.
right.
That's the most iconic. This I didn't agree with anyone taking a shot at him back then. I mean, I'll
Sure.
put that out. Just
Yeah.
that's not us. We don't do that, right? Like that's I don't condone that. But I did say as soon as I saw that photo, I said, "Well, shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's an election winner. That's an
Yep.
election winner right there. Like that is one of the most iconic photos I will ever see in my lifetime."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean it it rises to the feeling and message like the firefighters putting up the flag after 9/11, you know?
Yeah,
Like they really like it almost looks
iconic.
like it had to have been staged, you
Yes,
know?
I just fully
So
iconic, right? And then there's that's right. So we get to that very last part. The way the Secret Service handled the situation in the moment,
mhm.
where like granted, I don't know their protocols. So I don't know Secret
I
Service
do.
protocols. I don't you know what I'm
I,
saying? I don't
yeah.
but to leave him in the area for that long and let him expose himself to that degree.
Well, so all right. So when they first came and covered him, okay, that's standard protocol.
Yes, that makes
You
sense.
cover and you wait for the all clear. So or you wait for the head to tell you to move. Okay. So you have your the head of security. They're the ones that are usually close to the president. They're usually the first one to the president, and there's a group of them, and they're tasked with covering up the president as soon as shots are fired. All right, their job is to stop bullets, and you know, and then as soon as the head of security gets a feel for the situation, they talk to their QRF and their nesters, their snipers. Then at that point, they make an evaluation of whether they move under fire or if there's an all clear. Okay, so the snipers made a shot. So there was a small exchange, and then the snipers would have let them know, you know, shoot her down, and then from there it's a run, and you do not let the president, stand up above you and pump his fist into there. You don't do that. You hold them down. You cover them up with your body and you run like a running back with a quarterback or with a football, you know? So so the fact that it wasn't even like a full team either. It was very light duty. The head of the Secret Service had wanted to add more people, um but the security on the ground said that they didn't need it. So the fact that they had a light crew, probably people handpicked by the president, including the head of that security detail, because that's the purview of the president when it comes to their Secret Service security detail. They get to handpick the head of it, and then the head gives them dockets for each person that's going to be employed on that detail.
Oh yeah, I mean they just held him there a long time and didn't move him, didn't throw him into a car. The car's pulled up, they never took him to it. Like
Right.
you let him take that picture, which wasn't a pic, maybe it was. Um, you know what I'm saying? So, and then we know nothing about this dude. He just disappeared like a fart in the fucking wind.
Hmm.
Um, there's the people who were seeing him and calling the cops, and they're like, "This dude's climbing on the roof with a rifle." Like we've been through some shit before. This is typically how they do it. So
Yeah.
like just lots of strange stuff and got into a
Yeah.
conversation with a rando and was like, look, I don't have any evidence saying it was rigged. So I'm not just gonna agree with you and say it was. I said, however, I will say that the oddities around it, specifically being your number one and my number one are the same. You don't ever fucking bring it up. You
Right.
never talk about it.
Yeah.
His lapdogs on Twitter very rarely bring it up. And when they do bring it up, it a one sentence or a three worder.
Right.
Took took a bullet for us.
Yeah.
Right. But it's never talked about. And when they demand things, it's never a demand. It's like, why are the I don't know. I don't know. So, but yeah, so that's really strange. And man, damn, you'd be great if you staged your own assassination, dude. You really do understand TV better than the average person.
So like when when everything happened, I did the same thing that you did. I was like, yeah, he's won the election at this point. It doesn't matter if it was real or not because we live in an age where nothing is real. So, you know, so as long as the public news cycle, was covering it, that's reality now. So, and they were covering it. So I knew that he was elected at that point. Like you know, they could have just called the election. There was no chance there because the way that the EC, is laid out, we could tell that there are very few spots that could break both ways, and those were going to be the places where the election was decided, and all they needed was a couple points, and they got that and more. After those photos and stuff hit, and the rah rah nationalistic push was out there in full force. It was an easy win for him, really. And really, we've talked about this before. The Democrats had the election to lose, not him to win. Like he had absolutely no chance in hell, except for the fact that the Dems couldn't get their shit together. Even with this, staged assassination attempt, um, allegedly. Um, I still think that the Dems had the election to lose.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I agree with that, right? So, but and they found a way to do it, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
Well,
And there's a lot there. I mean, I still think ultimately the number one mistake is he knew he was a one termer and he said it coming in, and I love it, dude. Like I said, I think he did a great job, like in his own right. Like he wasn't the greatest ever, and he's not going to go into history as the greatest ever, but he did a really good job with him. He did what he needed to do.
right, exactly.
That's what
He was
he needed to do A, B, and C, and he did A, B, and C. He didn't do a lot else, and he didn't do much on the other side, but he did A, B, and C. And A was beat this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So, but him deciding late, yeah, I'm gonna do this again, and then deciding later, yeah, I'm gonna drop out. Um, Kind of a wild reality, right? If we have a primary and we pick our own person, pretty sure we win the election.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that soured some people. So yeah, really interesting there. And we'll move into Florida with DeSantis rain boots.
Yeah,
I
looks
was
like
impressed.
they kissed and made up, him and Trump.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think DeSantis is actually probably the one person in the Republican Party I'm most afraid of their political acumen and their ability to actually govern because he does have that.
And
He
he's
can't.
gotten a
Yeah,
lot of
they have not done a bad. He has not done a bad job in Florida. I can't. I'm around Florida enough to know he has not done a bad job in Florida.
he's not done a bad job at it, but he has, and he's been effective in the things that the Christian nationalist agenda that he's been trying to put into place. He's been effective at
Yeah,
getting in place.
yeah. No,
So
he's done a good. He's
that's
done
where
a
he's
good job.
scary.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He's probably the one I'm most afraid of in
Yeah.
the entire Republican Party. But it seems like he might be prepping for another run at president, and that's why he's getting all sweet with the Don. So he has opened in the middle of fucking nowhere, the Everglades. And I think it's Okeechobee. Florida, Occholl. I don't know how to pronounce the y'all's name for things. It's weird down there, but I know where it is. When I go down there for work, I'm not that far away from this place.
Yeah.
I've seen the exits. It is in the Everglades. And they built a detention center. Um, that
On an
is
abandoned
well, it's a training airstrip. It's an airstrip for training.
oh,
Um,
is it training? So
uh,
what, touch and goes and stuff?
I'm not sure what they train, but it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. That's for
Right.
sure. Um, and it's a tent city, basically. It does have air conditioning, supposedly. But it's definitely got the concentration camp feel to it. And I'll be the first to admit that it is very similar to the types of cages Obama was using, and I'll be the first to say I didn't agree with that either.
Right, right.
So like they keep on Twitter sending me that when I just like, whoa, Obama did it. Yeah, I didn't agree with that either.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do then. They have no idea that it's okay to be like, no, fuck that dude for that.
Right, right.
Like they have
Like
no idea.
in this instance, in this decision, I disagreed.
Right, completely and fundamentally disagree for the same reasons I do right now.
Yeah,
But it's like I told people, Obama did a lot of the things he did legally, and that's I'm not saying this camp isn't legal, it is.
right.
Um, but he did a lot of the things he did legally, and he also did it not because the media, they want to say, well, the media just pays more attention. And yeah, they do. You're not wrong, but it's because of how he carries himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's why
they
they
don't
pay
they
more
don't pay
attention.
more attention. They just focus more on him because he's more um not divisive, but inflammatory.
Yeah,
Because of
well,
how
he
inflammatory he is, they watch him with a microscope because they can then use that to get
right.
ratings and
No,
make
he
money.
that's yes. So he just it's him though. Like it's ultimately because of who he is and how he is. This is why there's so much scrutiny around him,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I
and
know
because
that
he's
from
always breaking the law.
right, and I know that from personally being a dick. Being a little asshole. Like there's a lot of scrutiny on me too, and I understand why it was happening. It was well deserved.
Yeah.
So like he's just like that, and that's why he gets the scrutiny. But we knew that Obama did the cages thing too, so you can't tell me the media didn't report on how the fuck did all these people know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
and we lashed out when we found out it was happening, and we had that you shouldn't be separating children from their families. Like, and guess
Yeah.
what? They stopped doing it
Right.
because we got pissed off about it.
Yep.
And so it was publicized. We did speak our opinion. We did break away from the party because we're not a cult.
Right. Right.
Like we don't agree with everything, and we will be loud when we severely disagree with something like that. Don't do that. They're human beings. So our standpoint between then and now hasn't changed it. But Obama deported these people at bigger numbers
Mm-hmm.
on a faster pace
Yep.
legally.
Right.
And did do some fucked up shit in the process because of the amount of people he was processing, right?
Right.
Which is what you're trying to ultimately he's Obama 2.0ing in a MAGA way, and nobody realizes it's
Well,
happening, but it's
I
because
don't I
that's
don't
who
even I don't even
he
think that
can't
he's I don't even think he's doing it in a bigger way. If you look at the numbers, like the amount of people that
no
he's actually deporting is shit.
yeah, no, that's what he's trying, right? So he's trying
Right.
to emulate. He can't handle the fact that the world likes the black man more.
Oh, I know. He
He
just
can't he can't handle the fact that Obama is top three, if not the best orator we've ever had in that
yeah,
office.
well, and he was so effective in slapping Trump down from afar when Trump tried
Yes.
to use use Obama um as a stepping stone in order to can expand his brand and facilitate, the what he thought should happen in the election. You know, Obama he was just like, yeah, shut up. Like, and here's I'm not going to show you my birth certificate because that's just stupid. And moved on, like, and that just burned him up so bad that he
Yep.
wouldn't engage, and he was able to eloquently move through it without
Well,
getting it inflamed or anything
because he's one of the most intelligent people to ever hold the office.
for sure, for sure.
He's one of the greatest speakers we've ever had in the office. I mean, I know people that went to Harvard with him, like hardcore Republicans who went to Harvard with him. It's like that's not a dude you wanted to get draw in the debate
Right.
because he'll fucking slaughter you.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
knew it, freshmen in Harvard, that okay, because they're all politics, right? These are these people, right? They're
Right,
going,
right.
they knew as a freshman, all right, he's going to be our president for a while because they couldn't beat him, right? Like
Yeah.
so they knew back then, and that's back when politics was normal. So but yeah, he emulates that. So now we have a near concentration camp. Um, and then we have MAGA influencers tweeting out that they can't wait till all 65 million illegal immigrants go through the camp. Now it's 65 million illegal immigrants. That's weird because it's 65 million Latinos in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're openly starting to say it will actually be all the brown people.
Right.
So we're going to do brown and we're going to replace, I've noticed we're going to replace brown. So we're going to move Latino brown out and we're going to move Asian brown in. A lot of H1Bs
they'll
going
probably
to
go
in.
Arab brown first.
No, it's in yeah, a lot of H1Bs coming from India right now. Quite a lot.
Well, I said
So
Arab brown, not Indian brown.
well, no, that's what I'm saying. So Asian, Arab, or India, Asian, right? India is a part of Asia, right?
No,
Yes,
don't.
it is.
I know it's part of the continent, but don't.
Thank you.
No,
I'm like, don't fuck with me. I know my
I'm
geography.
not fucking with. That's the culture. Like you call an Indian person an Asian, and they're gonna
Listen,
fucking have it.
listen, that's fine. I wouldn't do that, but you're call yourself what? You're Asian. That's cool. I don't care. But it's in Asia. I didn't make that choice. Take that shit up with these people. That's the same thing I tell people all the time when they get mad about something. I'm like, you can't do that. Why? Because of the Constitution. Well, you fucking people and da da da. Yeah, you're beefing with us. You're beefing with the founders. Go talk to them. They put it in there.
Right,
That's
right.
a them thing. So but yeah, we're openly pretty much admitting now that we want the brown out, and that's in there's Latinos doubling down on I still support him, and I mean you're gonna have a hard fucking day when you're up, and we're not gonna be able to stop the Proud Boys. You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna happen. And then yeah, so really weird, interesting shit that we've put our first concentration camp in the Everglades. I heard shit popped off pretty good down there too. Um,
As far as the protests and whatnot,
yeah,
yeah. Well, I'm sure they have quite a bit of force there, and that goes back to what we were just talking about with the assassination attempt. If there really had been an assassination attempt, then we would have saw all kinds of security um and misuse of force in against those um protests when Trump and DeSantis went to open it.
yeah. I don't. It'll be. I don't know. It'll be really interesting. So, yeah. But then I will say, he got his bill passed, and he did it. He got his bill passed. So he was having a problem in the Senate and called him into the room, and they walked out voting yes. And he had the problem with the House, and he called him into the room at like 2 o'clock this morning and had it out with them, and they walked out voting yes. So I will give him that he does have some kind of power of negotiation, blackmail something. He's got something.
He's got blackmail. That's
Right. He's got something. I mean, so he's got something because he does get what he wants a lot. So okay, cool. Do your thing, right? But there's no all it proved to me is that the strongest branch of the government is now the weakest branch of the government that has no spine. And
Yeah.
even some of the senators passed their version of the bill saying, I don't really like this bill and I hope it doesn't pass the House.
Right.
Why the fuck did you just vote for it then?
Yeah.
What do you mean? You kicked the can down to the House? That's how afraid these people are.
That's what it is that's how you know that there's something that he's holding over their heads. It might just be the fact that because he's the de facto head of the party, he's threatening them with revoking any support.
No, I mean,
You
I
know,
honestly think that, I mean, they were 8 out of 10 when they primaried people who voted to impeach him last time.
right.
There's a lot of power in that machine. If you go against him, them middle voters won't come vote for you. And if that
Exactly.
happens, then them low propensity voters don't come out for you, you will lose to the
Right.
Democrats more often than not. So
Yep.
it could just be the fear of not being elected. But at what point, right? At what point are you going to realize, so the fuck what? This is about America. Like,
Well, it's
where
not
are the, why
if they
we,
lose their job, who cares about America? They have to go and find work. So, that's we've talked about this where, it drives me nuts that, we're not able to attract people into elected positions that are there to serve. They are there for themselves, and they're there to collect not just a paycheck, but benefits, and then lobbying money. So the ability to retire early or early and in a cush job that doesn't require you to really know what you're doing, that's cushy as hell. All you need to do is vote the way that you're told, and then get people to give you money.
no,
Really,
100%.
you don't have to get people. You just have to get the party to support you, and then the lobbyists will come to you and give you and say, hey, as long as you do this for us, we'll
I,
give you a
well, I think Elon said if they pass this, he'd create a new party called the American Party.
yeah. I saw
No,
he,
I just want to see if he really does it. I want to see if he really throws his money. Listen. I know enough about the world to know that he could make enough of an impact to fuck them forever.
he could, but he
Uh,
won't.
no, I
He's
don't think he will either. He's soft and baby
what he's
shit
doing is
too.
he's leveraging, but with threats, the same way Trump does. So
He's
he's
learning from daddy. I got it.
exactly
That's the
right.
other Derek here. Let's go there, dude. Why do you all call him daddy? Like I don't understand. I We're talking about the fear of like congressmen and senators and not getting reelected. That's enough to make them not do the right thing. We
Right.
have a whole group of people who are supporting the wrong thing, and somewhere inside yourselves, most of you, I think you know it's wrong,
Yeah.
but you're doing it because of your own insecurity and fear. And I'm fully aware of this, right? While portraying yourselves as fake alpha males. So because you're
I
afraid,
think that's kind of what it is.
protectors. Well, protectors don't just protect their family; they protect everyone and everything. Like a key example of a dude, like, okay, so the dude whose daughter fell off the Disney cruise
Hmm.
a couple days ago, this fucker didn't hesitate and jumped right in. And then the professional divers and shit have come out and been like, no, I don't think y'all understand what he really did. Like the fact that he immediately followed her over is the only reason he ever even found her.
Yeah.
Because people don't realize the ocean's a real big place real fast and that boat moved right like so it all made sense and like he then treaded water for approximately 20 minutes to a half an hour, which Disney's response was phenomenal, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
y'all went through all them training runs for a reason, good job Disney.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that guy, I think, yeah, he did that for his daughter, and it's a miracle and a super admirable, right? But I think that's the guy who run into your house if your house is on fire and you're screaming one of your kids is in there.
Right.
I think that guy still runs into your house. I don't think the MAGA guy who says he's alpha and cares so much, I don't think he runs into your house. I think he
Not most of
probably
them.
videotapes it to put it on Twitter and doesn't even call
Yeah.
911 for you.
Yep.
And it's all fear. It's all fear, 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 fear. And I'm not saying the left is innocent. They do fear mongering just as well too. That shit also doesn't work.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, at least their fear mongering is against people that are using fear to oppress others. It's
yeah.
mostly, don't like.
So, but it's everybody. Just everybody's afraid. Everybody's scared.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I didn't grow up in a country that was afraid. I don't know how the fuck this happened. I don't, it's not immigrants, it's not minorities, it's not the poor, it's not the rich, it might be the rich. It could be the participation trophies too. Never been a fan of those either. But the country is soft. It might be that the war has changed and we don't have war every 15 years anymore, like real war.
Well,
Vietnam,
okay.
Korea, World War One, World War Two. Like you go
Nah,
back.
I mean, here's the thing. We didn't see World War II.
No,
America
but
didn't.
no, but
So,
we know what happened.
well, we do now, but it was all propaganda. It was all drawings and propaganda machines. It wasn't it wasn't people in the field. Like, when we saw the shock and awe and the 24-hour news cycle started, we saw like most of the bombs that got dropped. We
The,
saw,
the
you
birth
could
of
find
CNN.
footage of soldiers going in and day out.
Yeah,
So,
CNN actually making their name for themselves by having the best war coverage ever.
yeah,
That's
I
how they
mean
did it.
that was what created the 24-hour news cycle, and
Yeah,
Fox
no,
quickly realized that they could do something with it by hopping on that bandwagon, and then punditry, um, you know, talking points through the day would allow
right,
them to keep that entertainment, and extreme, uh, you know, fake news type of stuff. They were able to push that into the forefront when they joined into the 24-hour news cycle.
right. So yeah, so really interesting there. And then so we did pass the bill. They passed it. He's gonna sign it. He'll probably sign it tomorrow on the Fourth
You
of
will
July
sign
because
it
he's a
tomorrow.
dick like that.
They reported earlier in the week
That
that.
picture of going to White House too.
Oh yeah.
So, but there's a lot in there that supposedly helps the middle, and it does for limited time only. Now,
Yeah.
the tax cuts do become permanent for the middle class. So the TCJA tax cuts do become permanent. Those do help the middle class. I'm not going to argue they don't. They do. And now it's no longer a mob loan.
Right.
And we go back to actually the original rates, which were a break. So there will be a little bit more. I think that starts next year. And they don't sunset. There's no sunset there. So
Yeah.
those are permanent until somebody comes and decides they're going to change it.
With a
So
little bit.
that works. But then after that, we have no tax on tips. And the House bill was no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Period. The
Yeah.
bill that was passed is not that. The Senate changed those things.
Yeah.
The Senate did the Senate things, and they did change those things where they are a cap. There is a
Yeah.
cap. I think it's 12.5 on the overtime. Um, which and overtime, if you're working a 40 hour, $40 an hour job that you're, steel working or coal mining or right, they get paid really well.
Yeah.
Um, UPSing, right? Like they get paid really well. You're going to go through that 12.5 in a month and a half of overtime.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Yeah.
and then you're going to, and
And the
it's a
worst part is
deduction.
that seasonal workers that need that overtime in order to float them through, they're gonna hit that really, really fast. The other
Yes, very
thing,
much so.
the tipped stuff, like, I spoke on it. I think me and Josh talked about it. Um, was the problem with the no tax on tips is that the majority of the people that would benefit aren't paying taxes anyways. They get all of the taxes that they paid in a
That's
return.
not a, that's not actually so much true anymore. Um, a lot has changed there. Trust me. It's what I do for a living. A lot has
Yeah,
changed
but
there.
the
Uh,
amount their annual income is still low enough where they get most of their
with credit card tips being so prominent now, and the government
they're
knowing
all
what they
claimed.
the
Yeah.
government know what they actually make.
Yeah.
The average bad server's over 50 a year. So, and that's in a brand like mine that shouldn't that we're not cheap, but we're not expensive either.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, they yeah, it's an interesting reality there. But it's not a tax break though. They don't People need month to month or check to check money, and that's what they were looking for, and that's not what this does. It's a
No.
deduction. It's
Yeah.
allowing you to deduct it over the top. So above your standard deduction, you'll also get this deduction.
Yeah.
These both also sunset in 28.
Oh
So
yeah.
when he'll no longer be president, these things sunset and won't be in existence anymore because he just wanted you to like it. He doesn't
Yeah, and
care about you long term. He cares about you for his duration only.
and
Um,
weren't we talking about some of them actually will it will be before his presidency ends, but after the midterm, so the Republicans can still
so a lot of the
use this.
Medicaid and SNAP things aren't going to
That's right.
happen until after the midterms next year.
Yeah. So
Um,
what that'll do is that'll allow them to use this as a talking point and then
Nobody will have faced the damage yet because
exactly.
they've fully spun this that the only people who are going to be hurt by those two things are illegals.
Yeah.
And that's already not true. There's already people coming out where I'm going to lose my Medicaid in this scenario, and I'm a diabetic, and I'm 82 years old, and I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And so this will cost lives. I don't think they're wrong in that. It's not a direct where like nobody walked over and pulled the trigger. I get that,
Right.
but what you don't get is it's wrong because it will in fact be the indirect reason someone died.
Yeah.
It'll be the
Yeah.
indirect reason for the direct reason of their death, right? Like that. That's just not it's not how it goes. Like you shouldn't do that. So, but yeah, then they did expand the child tax credit. So if you have children, which they're big on having children, that's that evangelical religious right.
Yeah.
Husband, wife, two sexes, fucking, womp womp. We're definitely not getting into that without him here. If we're gonna do it, he's gonna be here for it. So but the bill raises it to 2,500 per child instead of 2,000. I don't know if there's a max child cap still because there is currently, but that actually takes effect next tax year, so this is immediate. Um, and the 2,500 only goes till 2028 though. Then it reverts back to the 2,000 that TCJA made it because it was 1,500.
Yep. Yep.
So they're giving you an extra $500, which to me, like, okay, yes, it will help people. And it's capped at 200K for a single mom. There ain't very many single moms that if you're making 200K, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your 2 grand doesn't matter. I get it, you get it, but it will help people. But this is not necessarily against the right or Trump or the big beautiful bill. How fucking out of touch are you people? $500 for a child in America lasts about 12 seconds.
12 set. Yeah. It'd be fine.
So, like, no, dude, it's a shopping trip to go to back to school clothes and supplies. It's gone, and you put 100 on the
I'm not
table.
even leaving the house. I'm just getting on Amazon for that.
Yeah, but you're still leaving minus 100 from the $500 credit extra they gave. You're
Right.
still leaving minus 100, so it helps you buy school clothes. Like it's that they're just disillusioned with the reality of things because they pay people to take care of their kids. They don't know what that's all about.
Yeah. Right.
Um, the
They
big part
don't know
about
what they spend month to month,
Right. The big part about that is all the family members have to provide legitimate social security numbers.
Mm.
I don't know why not everybody would have them, but people say that that disproportionately affects legal non-white citizens. I don't. I haven't put enough into it, but it doesn't. Right? It doesn't do that there. So
So any birthright, type of illegal would be the way that would affect wouldn't be because because they would have a legal social security number. What they wouldn't have is a legal parent to file claiming that legal social security number. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
So
I
they
mean
couldn't
it
get
just
the tax credit because the mom doesn't have the number, but the kid who is an American citizen, regardless of what SCOTUS says. Oh wait, they didn't actually say on that part.
yeah, they left it up
So
to
well, they're scared too. I don't know why. They have lifetime appointments. But so then they also added a tax breaks for seniors and charitable donations. That's more to the old and the rich. I don't know much about that. There's also
Mhm.
car purchases. So if you get a new car, you can declare up to 10,000 in the interest deduction. So what they've done is put a lot of deductions on your taxes. So you're going to get a bigger one-time payment for a couple of years at tax time. But then I don't know how many people suffer from this, but I think it's most people. People don't save that money. They blow it right back into the economy.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. You're thinking tax returns, but this is mostly going to benefit people that have to pay at the end of the year, reducing their tax bill.
No, true, but it's also going to take somebody like me. Like if I bought a new car this year or next year, let's go next year on January 1st because I'm not smart. I want to get maximize my deduction,
Yeah.
right? And I could probably at what I can afford and so on and so forth. I'd probably get to 7K interest in the first year I could write off. That's going to be more to my return. It's going to increase my return. I already get a return. It's small, but I get one. It's very small typically, but I do get one. That would increase it by the 6K if I could deduct that. But it's a
Well,
one-time deduction. It's a one-time deduction,
right.
and it's only valid on new car purchases. So I don't know new and used. I didn't look that deep into it, but I
Right,
know
right.
it's a new contract. So after the bill was written, they're not going to let me go back when I got my car 2 years ago.
Can I refi?
So I wonder if that would work. I mean, talk to your tax professional. I don't know. So I am not a tax professional, that's for sure. And then they did do some stuff with HSAs, and a lot of people don't even understand that. I explain these things to people a lot. Choice programs, a lot of health stuff, and then the restrictions on Medicaid and Medicaid work requirements and SNAP. That's where I don't have all the ins and out, but it's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
It hurts poor people. That's ultimately at the end of the day. You can tell me it's targeted at illegal immigrants. You can tell me that illegal immigrants are getting all of this assistance. So,
That's
but you
all
can't
happening.
show you. I know you can't show me it happening. I was going there. You can't show me that happening, but you can
Yeah,
tell me it's happening.
yeah.
But this is going to hurt poor people, not illegal poor people, citizen poor people. It's
Yeah.
going to hurt poor
Mostly
people.
disabled or, or underprivileged poor people.
So I'm very blue dog Democrat, old school conservative Democrat almost. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not hyper liberal. I'm not I seem super far left today, but
yeah,
that's because you've moved so far right or
yeah.
whatever. You've moved into the. I don't even think it's right. I don't know where the fuck y'all went. But because the
Not reality.
we didn't hurt poor people.
Right,
Neither said the Republicans didn't hurt poor people either. They didn't help them,
right.
but they didn't hurt them. They didn't take the things that we did to help them away when they were given the opportunities to do so. They didn't do it because hurting people is wrong.
Well, and we were in a weird transition phase too, because post civil rights, it was, figuring out, um, without talking about reparations and without actually, um, focusing on real solutions for a targeted group. It, was DEI and all of these things that were uplifting, um, cost some money, but not a lot of money. And then, so it was trying to expand those programs because they were needed in order to provide equality to everybody, you know, and then globalization happened, kind of all at the same time. And so it changed the face of our economy. And so what we're seeing now is, that wealth gap, it has gotten really bad
It's the
with,
worst it's ever been.
oh yeah, well, and this was the largest transfer of wealth, um, and this isn't just, Bernie talking, based
Oh, it's
off of real
economists.
numbers. This is the largest transfer of wealth, um, to increase the wealth gap in human history.
Hmm. No, 100%, 100%. And that's like, but like I said, it's a moral thing for me. Like the reason we earlier talked, the reason I disagreed with Obama when he did it, it's because it's morally fucking wrong.
Right, right.
I know what you're doing and I see what you're trying to do, and I'm neither here nor there. Just like now, if you were doing it legal and you were doing it morally, I wouldn't give a fuck that you're doing it. Go do it. Take all the illegals and get rid of it. Cool, whatever. You have a point. I got nothing to say.
Right.
They did.
You
They
just
came
belong
here
inside of
illegally,
it.
right? Yeah, yeah. Whatever. You got a point. It's the law. Go do your thing. I got nothing to say. But do
Right,
it legally and do it morally,
right.
because that's the American way to do it. To be moral and to be just and to be all these words that I never thought I would fucking identify with, and now I do. Right. So
Mhm.
now we're attacking the poor. We're making the poor poorer. We're attacking the lower middle. We're helping the upper middle and up. We're barely helping the upper middle. We're pretty good helping the lower upper, and then we're really helping the upper upper.
Yeah.
So that's what's really happening. And then I think there should actually be a whole new class up there, which would be the one percenters or the billionaire
The
class,
ones that we
right?
need to
So
eat. Yeah.
right. So the other thing they're doing is attacking student loans. Now this
Oh,
is where I
there's already
actually
2 million borrowers um that just got hit with,
defaulted.
yeah.
They defaulted. I feel that. I do. I feel. I mean, I make my payments, right? Mine didn't get forgiven. I make my payments on it, but now there will be no subsidies on Stafford loans, so they won't pay. The government will no longer pay the interest while you're in school. I
Yeah.
mean, it was only while you were currently getting educated. They put a cap on it too, which is $200,000. I don't think that's ludicrous. I think it might.
Who's spending two hundred
There might
thousand
be some.
dollars
You should be a doctor or something. So, and I think you can get a private loan if you're in your second year of med school. I'm pretty sure a bank could do that for you. Um, but
Oh, they have
ultimately,
doctor loans now for the stuff like
yeah,
that.
ultimately that attack, the attack on, because there's no grad plus loans. There's an attack on education. There's a full frontal attack on education. So you attacking the poor doesn't shock. It shocks me because we've never done it before. We've never attacked the poor, right? But now you're attacking the people, and one of the ways out
Right.
from being poor, one of the options.
Yep.
So, like sports, education, crime.
Yep.
Those are the options for a lot of people in poverty.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And you're taking the education option away because they don't realize at the end of their school, if they choose correctly, they'll be making more than enough money to pay it back because they've been splitting one peanut butter and jelly sandwich between 8 family members for their whole life. And they don't have a concept of, so $100,000 they'll be responsible for is 10 lifetimes in their eyes.
Yeah.
It's not what people think. It's not what $10 to me is.
Well, and here's the other thing. A lot of these kids were told to go to college, were invited in, but didn't have the tools to be successful. And with predatory lending practices by supported by the federal government to put them in those student loans so that they could, tax them for all of eternity, is has also kind of soiled the that path to a lot of people because now we have kids who their moms have been under the gun for paying back their associate's degree at Ivy Tech that they can't use in anything meaningful. The CNAs that spent 2 grand to get their certificates are making shit, so they're not making enough to be able to pay back that loan. And so like there's a lot of soiling to the thought process around it, which is one of the reasons why this argument against higher education and going into um, trade is has caught um, so much
Fleck.
traction. Yeah.
Yep. So actually, one thing that I do like that's in this bill, um, there are, like I said, the tax cuts becoming permanent. It's good for the middle class. I'll take that win, right? I'm in that. I'll take that win. It's a win. I'll give it to you. It's a real thing. A couple other things, decent. Bullshit because you put a cap on them for to only benefit you, but
Yeah.
decent for the time being. I'll take 3 years of relief, right? It helps me. But the one thing I do like is they've changed Pell Grants quite a lot. They increased the requirement for full-time students to get a full-time Pell Grant. Like you have to take 15 credit hours now instead of 12. So anyone that's been to college fully understands the difference between those two things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
I
it's
did
it's
it for two
actually
semesters.
launching. One change that was kind of the it in the House bill. The one thing the Senate did add, that's probably my favorite part of the bill. It actually creates Pell Grants. It's a program launching next year for trades.
Mm.
And I am there's two types of labor in the world. There's unskilled labor, which I don't have a ton of respect for because it means you're stupid and never wanted to do anything. Right? You're not smart enough to do anything, or you never wanted to do anything, or whatever it is, or you spent way too much time in crime. Look, your problem, been there. Your problem. Um, on the flip side of the coin, there's skilled labor. And I
Mm.
think skilled labor is very important. And I don't think that it's stupid people. And I don't think that they're very MAGA. They are. And that's why it's here. But I don't think that there's a problem with giving a kid a Pell Grant because it's a lot of the same requirements. Not like the low income didn't change. Like a lot of the requirements didn't change. So you're going to give low income people the chance to learn how to be plumbers and carpenters and
Here's
welders.
here's
And
the
I'm okay with that.
here's the only problem with that I have with that. The what do you know what the costs are for somebody that goes through a
Fuck
program like
no.
that?
Fuck no, dude. No idea.
It's it's paid for through they're not really there's not a whole lot of out of pocket, and and a lot of them they'll go in and get accepted as an apprentice. That's
I
paid
understand.
out of their
Yeah, but
salary.
I think this gives kids an option that may not know that exists. I think there is
Uh,
some white privilege to the route you're talking about.
oh, there's a lot of
Um,
nepotism too.
yeah,
The
that's a, you see what
thing,
I'm saying? So where there is nepotism, there is white privilege. This is America.
sure, right.
So I think
It-
I think a kid from, an African American boy from the hood doesn't know he can be a plumber. And
right.
his student council person or his counselor in his high school dropped the pamphlet and it says go to college and be a lawyer or a doctor. He knows he can't do that, right? For
Be a
variant
soldier.
reasons, right? Yeah, they definitely show up there, right? Soldier recruiters. This gives them an option. Hey, you can be a plumber and we will help you out. And yeah, so you get your Pell Grant one time and you go and then you find out, oh shit, I'm supposed to go this route. And
Yeah.
then they probably do go that route. But I think this
Well,
does open the door to something we will need for the next 20 years, maybe 30, but I don't see it much beyond that before robots can do it all.
I mean, ITT Tech has created a program for that is Pell Grant accessible, for most of their trade for a very long time. But when you're talking about like
Well, yeah,
physical
so but
trade.
they had increased length of course to do that. That was the reason that trades were originally expelled. It's because length of course was not long enough. So you, yes, you could have went
And
there.
therefore the cost wasn't high enough.
Look,
See,
you
so
listen.
the Pell is
It's
supposed
good.
to.
Give them the W on it, okay? It's good.
Sure, sure.
It's a
I
good
mean,
thing.
okay, cool. But here the point that I was trying to get to was, to me this sounds um like a way for Trump to revive his university and make money.
Oh fuck you! You could be right. So
So, I
that's
mean,
why I hate this shit. So because it's like, yes, this is good. I'm trying to find the good because most of the bill sucks and it's stupid and people are going to die
no,
because of
and
it.
I hope that it helps people. I
Yeah.
do.
And I'm trying to
And
find pieces of this where I can understand why 218 of you in the House and
right.
50 of you in the Senate were like, yeah, this is going to be good for people. Like,
But let's
exactly. And we're carving out, like, McCursky in Alaska was like, she voted yes after they literally exempted her state from the bill. So if the bill's not good for your people, why is it good for everybody? Fuck you.
that
But I
that
guess that's her job.
those
That is her
pictures of
job.
her just frowning just
Yeah.
crack
But
me
that's
up.
her job, right? Like her job is her rep her constituents. So she did it. And she's not the one who said that. I'll give it that. But
Yeah.
I do want to wrap up tonight with this. Okay. This is a conversation I've had on Twitter recently for some days, and I've actually had conversation. And it's this is not common. But I'm finding the conversation in one viral comment where they were railing against socialism and they wanted socialism that worked. And I said Sweden and the Netherlands.
Hmm.
And then they came at me. I throw those aren't socialisms; they're capitalist countries. Okay, you're correct. Then the Europeans showed up. The
Hmm.
Swedes and the Netherlands, the Danish. They know that's Denmark.
Danes.
No, it is. Yeah, the Danes, right? Holly. Yeah. So they showed up into the country like, no, we're capitalists. Don't call us socialists. Like, and then I had to explain to them, like, I know, but the people I'm talking to don't. And when we tell them we want free healthcare, they say socialism. And when we tell them we want free education, they say socialism. I'm commenting and talking to them on their terms,
Right,
not
right.
realistic terms. And then the European guys, like, I know, I get that. Americans are so stupid, like they don't know. And you're right, dude. And he went on to explain why they hate being called socialist, though, because in
Right.
that part of the world, socialism's brought fuckloads of pain. So
Well,
I had these moments in these conversations where I got some of MAGA going and I got this and I had a MAGA guy and he was intelligent, at least could speak eloquently or type eloquently. He worded things well. It wasn't AI, it was definitely a human. And so, how come you always think we mean Cuba and Venezuela when, like, we want to be so, like, yeah, so Bernie Sanders calls himself socialist probably isn't the right mantra, right? But there's nobody in there. He does because that's what you call it. So he
right.
just aligns with it. But why do you think we mean Cuba? We're asking for free healthcare, free education. Why do you think that when the fuck did Cuba do that? When did Venezuela do that? When did Eastern right? When did
Well,
communist Russia
because
do
they
that?
called themselves that, and that's what the term means. See,
You,
that's the other thing, is that, when, Danes and stuff say don't call us socialists because the pain, they are also,
well,
um
no, I think the other
they're
part of the
also
reason.
wrong, because when you just said, because over there socialism has brought them a bunch of pain. That's not true, because socialism isn't what we're seeing. We're
So the
seeing.
problem is that socialism is one of the very few. Democracy is actually the other one.
Right,
That those two things have a governmental and economic meaning combined.
right,
And those are the only two forms of government that we actually do that about.
right.
So when they say socialism, they think no free market, no, right? Like, da da da. So the Swede I was talking to, he's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
We got really deep into it. And, I was talking to him about certain things. And he said the reason, he's like, we get offended because we actually, this is kind of our model. like the Swedes, the Danish, the Denmark, right, the Netherlands. That
Yeah,
they kind of did this. He goes, we actually call it the Nordic model here, where
yeah,
it is
yeah,
kind of democracy, kind of monarchy, kind of parliamentarians, but it's all based on free market capitalism.
yeah.
They all have billionaire classes. They all have innovation. They all have, but they take care. They have extremely strong social nets.
Well, they tax the upper class in a well, it compensatory to what they get from the economy. And that's
So,
all the socialist
right,
movement in America is
right,
wanting the rich to pay their fair share
yeah.
so
So
that
it,
we can have those programs that
right,
uplift the lower.
right. So it really got. I mean, I went back and forth on these stats for like 3 days because the conversation was there.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, the average interaction time is like 10 minutes. So 3 days is a long time to be going back and forth with
What-
people. But I think that realism to them is like what I don't understand is that has anybody tried to tell them we're trying to do what the other white people are doing?
No, because it would help brown people.
But we're trying to do it the other way. I really think that needs to be the new thing. American socialism, what
So,
the other white people are doing. Like that needs to be the fucking tag. Like that's it. That's how we win
yeah, yeah,
2028, bro.
yeah.
American socialism, what the other white people are doing. Like this is what we need to do. Because I saw people come in where like, no, it's they're successful because they're 94% white. And then the guy from the Netherlands was like, no, we're not. I was
Yeah.
like, where the fuck did you get your numbers? But the other thing I did is I did use deep research, chat GTP, their new
Huh?
model.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
playing with 4.5 a little bit, and I had it break it down for me.
Hmm.
So I used the average, middle class, all the countries. So all the Nordic model countries,
Hmm.
the actual socialist countries,
Hmm.
Venezuela, Cuba, and then America. And what
Those
I
are
had
not
to do,
socialist countries.
right? So in raw
They're
income,
fascist.
true. In raw income, we win. Pre-tax income, pre-tax income, we blow them out of the water. Our average pre-tax income is like $2,800 more a month than their average, and the best at next average European Nordic country, which was Sweden. So
But how did you
I don't know how it did it. AI did it. I
oh,
didn't do it.
so you didn't leave off like the top 10% or anything like that?
No, we use average, median, pure median, middle
Yes.
class
Yes,
only. So
except for when you look at the average.
we ranged based on American middle class dollars.
Yes, but
So
if you average American dollars and you're using the top 10%, it throws the numbers.
middle income in America was between it said it. It was like 85,000 and 120,000.
So that's the thing is that if you take out the top 10%, it
It didn't use
lowers
the
it
top
down
10.
to like
Yeah,
50,000.
it didn't go above 120K a year. That's not anywhere near the top 10%. So,
No, I'm talking about the averaging. So if you take the average salary in America, if you take out the top 1%, it lowers it by like 20K a year. If you
yeah, so
take out the top
it
10%, it
went
lowers
to,
it by like 50K a year.
it gave me gross and net for people in the middle class tax bracket only. And it's actually two tax brackets, but
Are you talking so
and then
by
it
the
was the
amount of
median
people
of that.
or
It was no, it's the median, just numbers, only money. So $2,600 more
uh-huh.
per month. However, then we went in and factored cost of living adjustments.
Uh-huh.
And then after cost of living adjustments, we were only $1,600 ahead
Uh-huh.
to Sweden. Um, then we factored in healthcare, education, and food. And once we factored in healthcare, education, and food, we were the only country, including the socialist countries, that was in a negative, negative $400. The
Yeah.
Swedes, we're still at the 1,600 or the $3,200 left after the cost of living adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they had $3,200 a month of disposable income in their middle class,
We
and
had
our
negative
middle class
400.
has negative 400.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right. You know?
No, and so like I'm saying, I hear you arguing, but I'm like, wait, no, the results made a lot of sense, dude. Like I might be able to like pull that and put it on here, like turn it into a PDF. And I was actually trying to get it to turn into a PDF, but I had taken it so long in the thread that it started hallucinating.
Mm.
Which if anyone hasn't played with AI, if you play with one thread for too long, it will start to hallucinate
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not understand
Well,
what's going
and
on.
I've actually watched some stuff on that. Basically, what it does is it will fill gaps with what it thinks should probably go there, and
Yeah.
therefore things start changing. Your outcomes end up being false. Like when you try to have AI write a paper for you, and it starts to cite stuff that it makes up because it thinks that this should be about right. You know? And the
No,
more you do
100%.
that, the worse it
Yeah.
gets.
So I usually know when that happens, when they start hallucinating, so I let it go. But it had given me the right information and it made a lot of sense, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just like, and that was the one thing with the MAGA people I was actually having a conversation with.
Hmm.
Why do you think we mean Cuba and Venezuela? Can you show me one left policy that says Cuba and Venezuela and not Netherlands, Sweden?
Right, right.
And they're like, now that you know, we can't. Right, because that's not what we
Because
want.
it's not a
We
socialist country.
right, we don't want true socialism.
No, that's not true
We
socialism. Stop
right.
saying
No,
that.
okay. So you're talking about Marxism, which has never been accomplished, and true
No, no.
communism,
Even
never
even
been.
even true socialism has never
Authoritative
been
socialism is the
accomplished.
only thing that's ever been accomplished.
Huh?
Authoritative socialism is the only
Yeah,
thing that's ever been
authoritative
accomplished.
socialism is
Yes.
fascism. So
Okay, in a lot of ways, that's very true too. So, but no,
because
that's the thing, right?
or it's an oligarchical or
You should know that word because that's what we're living
I
in.
know oligarchy. It's an oligarchical um covered up and called socialism because the oligarchs still make all the money, but they say that it's controlled by the government that is representing the people. So it's supposed to be the government is it controls the means and ways that the economy flows, but they represent the people. That's never happened before. True socialism has never happened, just like communism will almost never happen because at that point it goes
Aliens have
beyond
to invade.
socialism to where government isn't necessary anymore.
Aliens are kaiju's, bro. That's the only way that's ever happening. Aliens are kaiju's, bro. So that's the
I
only way
always
it's
say,
happening where
if we
humanity
were to
has to
ever
be cut.
actually have a true communist outcome, it would have to be because of the Borg.
Yeah,
So,
bionic chips, bro. That's what I'm
yep,
saying. Kaiju, something along those lines. The only way this is ever going to happen.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, I'd never really thought about it before because I've battled it forever, and I never stopped. Like, why the fuck do you always think I mean Cuba?
Yeah, yeah.
Why do you
Well,
think that that's my
that's the
reference
talking
point?
point that they've been handed.
Well,
You
no,
know,
I
because
understand the whys, right? Because Cuba is scary and the Netherlands actually kind of fucking attractive, even to the white people. Because hey, American socialism, we're trying to
right,
do what the
right.
other white guys doing, right? So it's like pork, the other white meat. We got to come up with a phrase to win 28, bro. It's be like socialism, what the other white people are doing, right? So
Yeah, but then we're gonna turn
no,
off
because it
the
caters to the racists too, because those places are, predominantly white, right? Like
right.
85% white, which you're deporting all the brown people because you want to be 85% white here again. So, but hey, 15% that isn't white, look out, you're next.
Yep,
So they don't want you here either. They want to say, you know what? You're right. We were wrong to bring you here. Here's a free trip home.
yep.
So that's coming soon to a Trump speech near you. So and then the African American people I know and love dearly that cannot understand those of their people that voted for this man are going to have a heyday, and I'm going to sit back and eat my popcorn. So,
Yep.
but yeah, a lot of he got his agenda passed. It happened. He got it passed. He negotiated his way through it. I hope it works out. It's not going to, but I hope it works out for the best.
And
Maybe so.
and
Oh yeah, and
even
it
more
gives
than that,
$150 billion to ICE. So shit's about to get real, y'all.
that's the thing. Maybe we can all just, you know, slide under his desk for the next 3 years and he won't feel like doing anything else. Let's all just and lick the Cheeto off of our lips for the next 3 years, and maybe nothing else bad will happen.
Yeah, but hey, listen. If you can show me the future and that's what happened, I'd take one for the team, bro. That's all I'm saying. Like, God damn it, I sucked my way to freedom. So done far worse things for freedom. It's fine. But yeah, ultimately, another weekend coming. No more SCOTUS though. They're done for the summer. So we'll have no more of that. And so SCOTUS basically kicked the can down the road. That's what they did.
Well,
So
and now Congress is going on break too. So,
well, yeah, I mean, and then for everyone else, I my personal, I don't like where we are. If you see him in his flag in the background, he don't like where we are either. However, there's nowhere else in the world you'd rather live. I promise you that. So America, in its theorem, is the greatest place on earth. Um, and tomorrow is the celebration of a bunch of people who did actually give a fuck in weird ways, and they weren't perfect men, and they'll be the first to tell you they weren't perfect men.
yep.
But it is the 4th of July tomorrow. This podcast is actually episode will come out on the 4th of July. We didn't I have to come up with an interesting title today, fireworks fascism and fuck it all. So it'd be interesting, but take your time to remember why we fight and why we talk about things like, I don't care that you're doing what you're doing. I care that you're doing it immorally and illegally. Right. Go do it. You passed the bill. I don't like the bill, but I've spent my time to find things in there I do like.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, I don't actually want you to fail. It's not good for any of us if you fail.
Right.
So I don't understand why we're hurting poor people intentionally. You're not going to make me become okay with that. But there's a couple of things in there that it's going to help people. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to find the silver lining in this. But tomorrow is a lot of 13 and 12 and 13 and 14-year-old boys snuck out of home and lied about their age to fight the war that created this country. So 12 and 13-year-old boys gave their life to create this country, and they lied about their age, which the recruiter in that moment knew they were fucking 12 and let them fight anyways because it was worth it. So take 5 minutes tomorrow to remember why you fight and understand that everyone who's ever given their life for this country didn't give it for this version. That's not what they signed up for or why they fought from the very beginning till now. So it's not. And they did give their life, and we do live in America where so far they haven't showed up to arrest me and you. So, and we definitely are hypercritical. If we lived in China or Russia, nobody would know what happened to us. We'd be gone.
Nope. Oh,
we'd be in a work. Oh, we'd be in a work camp somewhere. Yeah, they know, but they wouldn't know. So we would get black bag like McCready and McCready's black bag on V for Vendetta, bro. So
they wouldn't know which unmarked grave to come and visit us at. That's for sure.
Correct. So, but yeah, so enjoy your 4th with your families, enjoy it. And as a good piece of wisdom was given to me today, and I feel like I should share it with everybody. If you're watching this right when it comes out, it'll be early enough to tell you we throw fireworks, we don't hold them.
You do not hold them, especially in a fist.
Or somebody else will be opening up your ketchup bottles forever. A really wise physicist on Armageddon taught me that a long time ago because American movies used to be informational. So good stuff until next week. And hopefully our third returns next week. I hope the fireworks kick him right back into the good old American spirit, or he doesn't want to come back because he turned full MAGA on his vacation and can't admit it to us. That's
Ooh,
all. That's all we have tonight. Till next week, please like, subscribe, share. We may have a guest coming soon. We're in
very
discussions
true.
now. Very exciting stuff. Tell a friend, enjoy our show. Don't enjoy our show. We don't actually care. We'll
Yeah.
see you all later. Have a good week.
Thanks a lot.